Mirchi FM is #1 in Singapore.
और किसके सुनिए यार, हमारा एक सच्चा साथी है मिर्ची एफएम लंबा सा।
I love Mirchi FM. It's so hot.
देखे में लाल लाल, खाए में हाय हाय। टंगी टंगी तवा में Mirchi FM is hot.
Here at Rugby Town, Singapore, love listening to Mirchi FM. Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM is #1 in Suva. It's hot.
हम वहीं लंबा सा में रहता है, तो क्या बताएं, हम मिर्ची एफएम सुनता है।
Mirchi FM, बहुत जुलूम जुलूम।
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
In this bulletin, new classrooms for school that was overrun by rebels in 2000. FTUC berates Australian government for attempting to mend its relations with Fiji. And Fiji's first theme park aims to boost tourism and renew our lost traditions. Good evening, I'm Jackie Spate and this is FBC News. A school that was overrun by rebels in the coup of 2000 has 4 new classrooms to cater for the growing student demand. While there was a cause for celebration at Drimba Primary School today, the Prime Minister reminded all present about how some people had destroyed their school and almost destroyed Fiji during those dark days.
Today was a time for the students and teachers of Drimba Primary School to celebrate. The 67-year-old school has in the recent past had its name etched in the history books for the wrong reasons.
There have also been dark periods in the school history that must never be forgotten or repeated. And that during the rebellion of 2000, the year 2000, those who seized the parliament and held our representatives hostage for 56 days also turned their attention on Drimba School. One of the 4 classrooms was torn down and used as firewood to cater for the needs of the mob camped up in the parliamentary complex.
Bani Marama, a former student of the school, says Fijians should never forget those who instigated the takeover and their motive.
I ask you, how does destroying a place where Fijian children are educated help the Fijian cause? It doesn't. And unfortunately, some of these people who supported the 2000 rebellion are still with us, 14 years on, asking us to support them in their coming election.
The school has churned out many prominent Fijians over the years. Today, there are about 300 students pursuing their education at Drimba Primary. The new classrooms are a sign of the growing demand that parents and the community are placing on the school in one of Suva's nicest suburbs. Wasita Kotiwasa, FBC News.
After the first 3 days of voter registration, more than 200 Fijians in Australia have registered to vote in the 2014 general elections. 20 registration centres are operating in New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria and the Australian Capital Territory. The Acting Permanent Secretary for Justice and Elections, Mohammed Saneem, says people wanting to register must bring the required documentation with them when they visit the centres. A valid Fijian passport is all that anyone needs to register, but some people have been arriving with passports that have expired. Saneem said the expired passports need to be renewed first, and the diplomats are assisting in that process wherever possible. The registration team returns on Sunday. The Fiji Trades Union Congress, which has close relations with Australian unions, has berated the Australian government for attempting to mend its relations with Fiji. The Fijian government says this is typical of union officials who undermine their own country by doing more harm to ordinary Fijian workers than good. Christopher Chand reports.
Positive steps are being taken by our neighbours to mend the once tense relations between Australia and Fiji. However, the Fiji Trades Union Congress is lecturing Australia to tread carefully.
Well, improving relations is positive. However, I think they ought to be a bit cautious. We're talking about returning to democracy. We're talking about free and fair elections in this country. Australia needs to be cautious and not settle on our behalf for half a democracy in this country.
Here is a trade union official who claims to be representing the people of Fiji, who claims to be doing things for the people of Fiji, for all Fijian people, for the workers, etc. But what he's asking these countries to do, Australia, New Zealand, etc., is to actually undermine these very people that he claims to support.
The Attorney General says unionists have in the past lobbied countries like Australia, New Zealand, USA and other international organizations to boycott trade with Fiji, resulting in more harm to Fiji and all Fijians.
They're driving BMWs, they're driving Pajeros, they have nice homes, they probably have 2 or 3 homes, yet they claim to be representing the workers, but they're asking these countries to undermine these very workers. They will go to any extent and to all extent just to further their own personal agenda and to maintain a public presence.
It's quite obvious Australia's smart sanctions since December 2006 hasn't had the desired impact on Fiji. This foreign policy failure now has the Australians and the Kiwis following closely on their heels, trying to do almost anything to make friends with Fiji. And it's most likely that even union pressure will not move the new Australian government policy on Fiji. Christopher Chand, FBC News.
Fiji's first theme park, which will portray the rich history of our forefathers, aims to boost tourism and renew our lost traditions. Heritage Hamlet is located in Nadi and features the traditional lifestyle of early Fiji. Akusita Tale was at the park and spoke with the man who founded the project with the help of investors from India.
It's a step into history with its unique customary welcome. Heritage Hamlet has taken inspiration from the style, taste and atmosphere of the early settlers.
We want to create how Fiji was 50 years or 100 years ago, virtually from the colonial era to the Indians coming in and after independence. So we're trying to show that to our guests, how we were living, you know, in terms of entertainment, in terms of our food, in terms of our culture.
The $2 million investment was launched in January last year to fill a gap in the cultural picture presented to tourists.
I found that Fiji is lacking, in cultural explanations to many unanswered questions. So I felt that this could be a product because these kind of parks are very, very popular in India, and tourists are really attracted to these kind of parks. They are full to their capacity.
The theme park is the first of its kind, showcasing 2 of Fiji's major cultures. On my right, tourists can come and experience the Indian way of life, and on my left you can see the Fijian Bure, where tourists can learn the Fijian way of life.
At the moment, Fiji is known for the white sand, blue sea, but they also want to know the cultural side of Fiji. And if you look at Indonesia, Bangkok, Singapore, Malaysia, they have the tropical climate, they have the white sand, blue sea, but they also have the cultural side of things, which Fiji was lacking. And this Heritage Hamlet theme park will fill that gap for our tourist market.
With many more projects in the pipeline, the park hopes to display the true rural lifestyle of our forefathers. Akusita Tale, FBC News.
Coming up after the break, new aquaculture business opens in Navua.
Mbula FM rek tale takki
Gonga elambasa Mbula FM nambando ena serre
ndo tale takna borong ena Mbula FM nambando ena serre su
au wait ku tugaraki au rebot ku nistima au ndo tale takna borong ena Mbula
Bola bina Fiji Mbula FM nambando wa esenga toka
Bola bina era roga Mbula FM nambando atikoga
Mbula FM nambando ena serre.
Welcome back. This is FBC News. President Rato-Epeli Nailatikau has expressed the nation's appreciation to the Kiribati government for its continuous support for Fiji through its challenges over the years. The president, on an official visit to Kiribati last week, said friendship between the two countries has reached its greatest heights under the leadership of President Anote Tong. Ritika Pratap reports.
President Rato-Epeli Nailatikau visited Kiribati last week as part of Fiji's effort to bind the two nations even closer.
You have understood the particular challenges that we faced in Fiji. You have argued our case in global forums, and in the international media. When others wavered, you came, you listened, and you engaged.
The president also thanked Kiribati's government for its contribution in the Pacific Islands Development Forum. Ratu Ipeli says PIDF's membership has representatives from the civil society groups and businesses, which means greater voice from the Pacific in forums around the world.
Because only by working together closely and speaking with one voice can we hope to be heard above the competing interests of other nations.
He also took this opportunity to brief the people of Kiribati about the progress Fiji has made on the political front.
This social, economic and political revolution from over the past 7 years will soon deliver a genuine democracy in Fiji that meets the highest international standards. We are determined that our general election before the end of September will be free and fair and express the genuine will of the people.
Kiribati's president in turn has assured its full support to Fiji as it prepares for the elections.
Mr. President, on behalf of the government and the people of Kiribati, to congratulate Fiji on the milestone achievement of having launched a new constitution and for its demonstrated commitment to holding parliamentary elections in September this year.
Enote Tong says Fiji continues to be the hub of small Pacific Island nations and they acknowledge its leadership role in the Pacific. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
A US-based technical engineering and construction services company, MWH, has revealed projects it is working on in the country. Country manager Mike Rudge says there are a number of projects planned for this year.
We've got 3 contracts. They're the contracts that do all the pothole filling and the grading of rural roads, but they also do bridge repairs if there's a bridge problem. We have a few bridges that collapse every now and then, so we have to get in there and fix those. And we also expect to reseal more than 100 kilometres of road this year and more than 40 kilometres of rehabilitation. That's rebuilding roads.
MWH Global is a strategic consulting, technical engineering and construction services firm leading the wet infrastructure sector. The company assists the Fiji Roads Authority to build and maintain roads, bridges and jetties. Minister for Anti-Corruption Aisaid Qayyum held a public consultation in Nasinu last night to hear complaints about how taxi and minibus permits were issued.
Do we need actual bases being assigned to individual names?
Yeah, same was the United Taxi has said. There are Nasinu taxis and other taxis coming in. The husband has sold his taxi, now got another taxi under the wife's name.
Complaints were brought to the minister's attention despite a freeze on all taxi and minivan permits and bases. Some people had allegedly been given permits and base letters.
The taxi licenses are given by LTA, and sometimes they don't necessarily gel. Sometimes a person may have a base, but they don't have a license, or they may have a license, but they don't have a base, so they cannot operate it. And also the other point that is very, very critical is who gets a taxi license?
Consultations will be held around the country where people can raise their concerns and grievances. A local company is working to make Fiji a major supplier of live mud crabs both locally and overseas. Crab Company of Fiji has built a new facility and purchased equipment to enhance its hopes of making the venture a multi-million-dollar industry. Mika Longa reports.
Established under a partnership with the Market Development Facility, MDF, in 2012, the Crab Company of Fiji today celebrated the opening of its 140,000 new processing facility and equipment funded by the European Union through the IACT division of the Secretariat of the Pacific Community, SPC. How does it feel?
I think it presents a very good opportunity to create, on the one hand, meaningful employments to local people, but also contributing to fight against poverty.
The crab company is HACCP certified. The EU funding has put the company in a better position to meet growing market demands. It currently produces under 2 tons of crabs a year. Around 100,000 crabs are produced here every year, and they are already finding their way into major resorts in the country and an export market in Nauru. There are plans to extend this to other global markets. Crab Company of Fiji will be the first industrial-scale mud crab farm to be set up outside of Southeast Asia. The SPC, through its IACT division, is assisting the company to make sure its process chain meets international requirements.
We work with commercial ventures to assist them to become competitive, export-oriented enterprises that will consistently supply markets with the best of Pacific products.
Hereby, on behalf of the Ministry, render complete support of the Department to further assist in the company's aspirations to expand further.
The mud crabs are farmed in these ponds, 11 in total, on this vast land area at Naitata, Nabua, which was previously a prawn farm. Having invested just under $750,000 so far, Crab Company is also farming crabs in the mangroves in pens like these, an environmentally friendly technique that could be extended to the rural communities.
According to the poverty maps for Fiji, developed by the World Bank in 2011, many of the country's poorest communities are located in and around mangrove areas.
Company founders Wilco Liberates and Colin Shirley believe Fiji is just the right place to realize their dreams.
As everybody knows, Fiji's got the best tasting mud crabs in the world, very healthy mud crab populations, vast tracts of mangroves forests that support mud crab populations, a tourist industry just crying out for top quality seafood, and of course it's the regional airline hub which is so essential for exporting our crabs to the world.
And since we do have the world's best crab, this should provide us with excellent opportunities.
A recent survey has showed that Fiji alone needs 75 to 150 tons of crabs per annum, and there are plans to extend crab farming to coastal areas with the idea of mangrove pen to ensure that Fiji can sustain itself and also sustain the international market. Mikalonga, FBC News.
Elena is here with sports, and what's making the headlines in sports?
Thanks, Jackie. Coming up, we have the latest on the Fiji Warriors.
Today FM is #1 here in Singapore.
We love Today FM in Labasa. It rocks!
My favorite station in Nandi is Today FM.
Listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks in Sabah.
Lado kasi they love Today's hit music.
I love Today FM because they play all my songs. We love Today FM at Vuniva Labasa. Yeah, it rocks! I love Today FM because it rocks.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
Welcome back. You're watching FBC Sports. Fiji Warriors coach Lance Whippy has 3 weeks to whip his team into shape and prepare to defend their Pacific Rugby Cup title. The former Tailevu provincial rugby coach hasn't had the luxury of time, but he's confident the caliber of players within his squad will carry them through another successful season. With 5 players to drop for the final PRC squad tomorrow, this dynamic duo have a lot to think about. Our Fiji Warriors side has 3 weeks remaining before competition commences. The biggest challenge for our 2 coaches so far is not having enough game time to prepare.
I mean, focus right now is to ensure that we have built a bit of game combination, the game itself. As you know, that our season in Fiji has not started. So whilst the boys have been off-season and pre-season, the actual game has not been played. So we've had to ensure that we've included in our sessions.
Big challenge in the sense because there should be bonding in the team and they should know the body language of the players that they are playing with. I mean, they come from different college, different provincial team.
Flying Fijians, Penny Ravai, Rupeni Nasinga, Nemani Nangusa and Waisea Luveniali look to adopt leadership roles in the team. Fiji under-20 rep Emori Wanga has been eyed to take on more responsibility in the kicking game. Following tomorrow's scrimmage, Whippy's team makeup is expected to consist of 16 forwards and 14 backs. No game time pre-tournament is a tall order for our 15's ruggers, but being put under pressure is something the Warriors have been best known to overcome. Elena McDonald, FBC Sports. Meanwhile, the Fiji Warriors will need to be wary of teams they come up against. Pool opponents Force A warmed up with a convincing 54-12 win over Samoa A last weekend. The Australian franchise had too much power for the Samoans, who will also be playing in the PRC. With the Vodafone Fiji Sevens team marching into camp today, national coach Ben Ryan is also keeping tabs on schoolboys rugby. With the Fiji team taking part in the Youth Olympics in China in August, Ryan is already trying to identify the best young talent to take to Nanjing. For the current camp, Ryan has called up St. John's the Wadi under-18 halfback Waisea Ndaroko.
That's right. As a union, we're looking at preparing that team for the Youth Olympics as well as we can. And there'll be, unfortunately, a couple of the youngsters from the under-18s have already been taken abroad and are off to do their studies there. But there's one or two others there that hopefully we'll be bringing into camp. Halfback from St. John's Lavuka that I want to keep an eye on as well. And it also gives some of these young kids a chance to just taste what being in senior camps like as well, which will do them a lot of good in the future.
The team break camp on Thursday. The Navua football side is trying to put its troubled days behind it and get its first win in the Fiji Sun Skippertuna National League this weekend. Navua hasn't had a good start to the season, losing all its 4 matches so far, and there's also been a change in the administrative level for the side. However, team officials say the match against Nandronga this weekend will signal a new start for the Southerners.
We have started our preparation yesterday, and most of the regular players came today for training, and but we are in business now. And I think our voice will prove on Sunday this weekend. And with regards to the officials, I think we are a very good team. And if we run the show like the way we're running, I think we'll be the best team so far.
The match will be played at 4 p.m. on Sunday at Lawanga Park in Singatoka. That's it for sports today, and it's back to Jackie for business.
Suva's Holiday Inn Hotel is undergoing renovation. Fiji National Provident Fund, which owns the hotel, says the renovation, which began late last year, is expected to be completed before April. FMPF Chief Executive Aisake Taito says the buffet restaurant Victorias and the Bunyan Room are being renovated with the focus on design and function of space. Taito says the hotel's management team is committed to ensuring the needs of the guests are met in an evolving market. He adds a new concept in food and beverage presentation for Suva will be announced shortly. Weather time, and Jen thinking of starting up a crab farm?
Not anytime soon, Jackie. My to-do list is quite big at the moment. Avoid getting dengue fever, staying out of the rain, giving the right weather report, and the list goes on. We've got clouds and showers all over the map here, showing a wet Tuesday for Fiji. Funny thing is, there's not a single sunny icon when I'm pretty certain we had some sunshine today. Extremely warm day for Savu Savu, who's on 34 degrees Celsius. Suva and Lambasa aren't far behind on 33, while Autoka's a bit cooler than everyone else on 31 degrees. Looking at tomorrow's conditions, there's a high possibility of thunderstorms throughout the country, and a strong wind warning remains in force for all Fiji waters. We had a Nandi sunset yesterday, and now for the most beautiful sight of them all, a Lautoka sunset. Yes, I'm a bit biased, but who cares? So romantic, it makes you want to celebrate Valentine's Day all over again.
Thanks so much for that, Genevieve. The main points again. A school that was overrun by rebels in the coup of 2000 has 4 new classrooms to cater for the growing student demand. After the first 3 days of voter registration, more than 200 Fijians in Australia have registered to vote in the 2014 general elections. And Fiji's first theme park, which will portray the rich history of our forefathers, aims to boost tourism and renew our lost traditions. This week's poll question, we're asking, Is there a need to review bank and finance sector fees and charges? Visit our FBC website to take part. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via Facebook page FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC News or simply hashtag FBC News. That's news for tonight. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Gold FM is #1 here in Sigatoka.
Gold FM is our favorite radio station here in Lautoka.
Gold FM is #1 in Nel.
I love listening to Gold FM in Ba.
We love listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits here in Suva.
Hear about Batu Cola, you immediately think of gold. I'm Josephine Sabi and I love hearing Gold FM.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.